Hey everyone, welcome to a new OpenRCT2 Release video. Version 0.4.27 has been released, and as been called, we have a duck, a cat and a lizard.
We have a duck, a cat and a lizard.
Alright, in this video I will show you some of the most exciting changes that have been made in this new version of the game. Alright, first off, the game now has a new title sequence. The title sequence is the sequence of parks that plays in the background when you open the game. And the title sequence has been made with all the parks from people who entered the last title sequence contest. Here you can see the winner of the contest. It's a beautiful park. And yeah, you will see all the other parks as well if you wait long enough. But yeah, it's nice to see everybody's park in the background now. And a big thank you to everybody who joined this contest. Okay, next up we have an original bug which has annoyed a lot of people in the past, including me. Previously, if you had a sloped path on a piece of land like this, which was also sloped, you wouldn't be able to actually modify the land under it. But that has now been changed. So as you can see, I can now just lower the land, and I can also raise the land again. It works for this piece of path, but it also works for rides. So here we have this railroad. As you can see, I can now just modify the land under it just fine. Can't raise it through the miniature railway, but I can raise or lower the land under it if it matches the slope. So I think that's a really welcome addition. Okay, a feature that's possible through plugins in this game is the ability to freeze guests in an animation. You can see that I use that over here to make some scenes that play out. Here you can see some entertainers battling each other, and there's several guests watching them in the crowd. This guest, for example, is frozen in the animation that normally plays when a ride is too intense for a guest, for example. One thing we could also do is give the guest a food item through this plugin. So here I have the Peep Editor plugin, and let's take a guest here and freeze him in place. Well, this guest actually is already holding a food item. He has a toffee apple. Now, normally when people freeze a guest through this, they just want them to be stuck in a certain animation, for example, eating. And the idea of this is that the guest will then forever be stuck in the eating animation doing their scene. And what actually used to happen is that after a minute or two, the guest would actually lose the item from their inventory because they would have consumed it. And then it would be just reverted to trash and the guest would be reverted to a walking animation. So that's now also been changed. So if a guest is frozen while they're in while they have an item of food, they will now forever hold the food. And you don't have to worry that they will go out of their frozen animation. Alright, the next change is an important one, especially if you like to play in scenarios. Basically, as a ride gets older after you've placed it in the game, the ride value will keep decreasing. And there's actually a difference in how this age value is calculated in the original game and in OpenRCT2. So in the original game, if the ride was less than 5 months old, 30 was added to the ride value. And if my memory serves me well, that means you could charge $3 or €3 extra for the ride, and then the guest would be fine with it. If the ride was less than 13 months old, you could charge $1 or €1 extra. The ride was less than 14 months old, the ride value would be multiplied by 1. Less than 64 months old, it would be multiplied by 0.75, and this number would keep decreasing until the ride is very old, when it's considered an oldie, and then the ride value would go up again a bit. But as you can see, for the first 13 months of the ride, a number would be added to the ride value. Now, in OpenRCT2, this was actually changed. So instead of a number being added to it, the multiplier was simply made a bit higher. Now, this made sense for rides like coasters, but for flat rides like merry-go-rounds, mazes, crooked houses, since their base ride value is really low, this multiplier didn't really do much to let you charge more for those rides. So if you just place them down, it's pretty difficult to get guests to actually be willing to pay enough for those rides, especially if you also charge entry for the park. So this change has now been reverted, and the ride aging table is now exactly the same as it was in the original Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. So now there will be more of a similarity in the ride value for Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and OpenRCT2. Alright, speaking of things which have been made the same as in the original game again, the LIM launched roller coaster. If you build one of these, it will now actually once again revert to the powered launch without passing station mode. It was actually set to powered launch passing station in OpenRCT2, perhaps by accident, but now it's been changed back to powered launch without passing station, just like it is in the original game. Speaking of the LIM launched roller coaster, if you now build a block break on this coaster, you can see that it automatically switches to powered launch block section mode. For some reason it no longer did that, but that has now been fixed. So now if you build a block break, you could see the mode automatically changes. Here, one of the new weather types that was introduced in OpenRCT2 is blizzard, next to snow and heavy snow. And during a blizzard you may actually from time to time see lightning. And lightning during a snowstorm is actually pretty rare, so the chance of seeing lightning during a blizzard has now also been decreased. So you will see it flash less often now if you choose blizzard as the weather type in your park. Alright, next up there has been a fix to ride design placement. So you were already able to shift up and down your ride designs in OpenRCT2, but you can now also properly move them underground if you want. Like you can see I'm trying to do here with this shuttle loop. Alright, next up there was a bug in the scenery window, and if you chose a tab or a scenery group which didn't have a lot of scenery objects, and then some of these buttons would actually not be visible, which was actually a little bit annoying. But the minimum height of this window has now been changed, so even if you choose a group which does not have a lot of objects, at least all these tools will always still be visible. Alright, next up there was a bug where guests who are clapping when you finish the scenario would actually still be drawn with their hat on or with their umbrella, which is quite difficult to hold while you're clapping your hands. But that has now been fixed, so all guests should look like this again when clapping, even if they have a hat in their or umbrella in their inventory. Something else which was added in OpenRCT2 was actually the addition of photo sections on a reverse freefall coaster. And for that, the photo section for the air-powered vertical coaster was used. But when it was used on a reverse freefall coaster, the toys would actually not be in the correct color. But that has now been fixed. Now once again, for quite a few rides, the support clearances were changed. For example, here we can see a log flume. Actually, for the steep track pieces, you can see the clearances for these wooden supports were actually way too low, with them even clipping through the track. So this is how they were supposed to look like. So together with the log flume, quite a few other rides also had support clearances changed in this update. Alright, and finally, recently there has been a change in the game to make it so that the thunder and lightning effects in the game happen less often if you're playing at higher game speeds. Else it would just be continuously flickering if you were running the game at a higher speed and there was a thunderstorm going on. However, the way that it was programmed, there was a little bug that made it so that thunder would actually would happen less than it would than in the original game. So that has now been fixed. So now thunder and lightning should happen as often as they do in the original Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, even at normal game speeds. Alright, those were some of the most exciting changes and fixes that have been done in this version of OpenRCT2. You can find the full change log in the link in the video description. Now, if you want to stay updated on these updates, you can always subscribe to my channel, and it would help me greatly if you could leave a like on this video if it was useful for you. And please let me know in the comments what you think of this update. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video, hope it was useful for you. I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.